Anon vs. RGRE Part 7. We went back to making out. I just couldn't get enough of her. It didn't disgust me for a second, the anatomy of her body. She was a pony, she was a mare. What did scare me more than anything was the fact that she was a princess, but I was too drunk to consider the connotations behind it. Eventually, though, I inched left. Twilight took the hint, giggling as she left my hips. She was still on me, and before getting off my lap, she proceeded to come sideways to me. Then, with her forehooves on the bench, she arched her back, head low and ass high. Her tail flicked against my cheek. What happened next came to me like a blur. We both went to leave the booth, and our drunken stumbling crashed into each other. We toppled off the bench, falling together onto the black and neon-lit floor, holding her close to my chest as I took the brunt of the impact. It was the most heroic thing I'd done in my short life. Laughing. We laughed as we fell. We laughed as we hit the floor. We laughed as we laid there. After a second, Twilight rolled herself on top of my body, pinning her heavy flank against my stomach, keeping me locked in place. "You're a silly mare," I said to her as I felt the slur in my voice. "Why are you being so mean to me? You're heavy, you know." Twilight gasped. "Heavy? Are you calling me fat, Anon?" She couldn't stop herself from laughing. "A bit," I replied, snaking my forehooves an inch before either side of her rump. But in all the right places. I grabbed her ass, feeling her supple flanks fill out against my hooves. Like here, for instance. Naughty boy. It was addicting to be this way with a girl. That's what she had gone to as the night became all the drunker. A mysterious mare, power princess, conniving cunt, turned into a flirty and pretty girl. Twilight couldn't be trusted, but for the time being, she could be enjoyed. We better get those drinks." She kissed me after I said that. It lasted for a few seconds, and with a giggle, she slowly pulled away, coming off my body. You're not gonna win this." Twilight quickly got to her hooves. She looked over me from a foot away, a hoof against her mouth, her eyes set on me. "Is that so? Say that again later. You know, when you'll be in bed with me, Anon." I rolled over to my side, getting to my hooves, which was a struggle because I was drunk and not used to four legs. I quickly caught up to her. She didn't say anything at first. She had leaned against me, and I leaned against her in the fear that I may fall over without her. We walked a bit through the second level. It was hard to see anything at first with how dark the walkway was and how bright the distant flashing lights were. The heavy drops, clops, and gallops of hoof steps had faded from my ears. The packed club seemed suddenly barren, and I didn't know why. It put me on the edge. "So," I started to say, "you gonna tell me what just happened?" "The whole virgin thing? Everyone flipping shit?" "Oh, that." Twilight leaned her head into my own, softly rubbing our cheeks together. The warmth and contact was pleasant, but I couldn't fully enjoy the sensations, all things considering. Fear had woken me slightly from my stupor. "Something like that is very rare around here. You should have been more careful." "I didn't know that was something to be careful about," I replied. And in the distance I could see a constant white light staying on, illuminating the staircase that led me down to the first floor. Drunk, new on hooves, staircase. Oh boy. Back where I'm from, wherever the fuck I'm from, being a virgin, it was a bit of a shame card, sure. I shook my head, saw the world blur left and right, and regretted some decisions in my life. But it was never a reason to get me jumped, or cleared a club. I gulped, looking down at Twilight. She had her muzzle against my neck, looking sweetly up at me with her violet glowing eyes. Or score me a girl, if I'm being honest. "That's because virginity in a stallion isn't really a possibility around here." Twilight slurred her words, giggling inside her pauses, and nuzzled at me with the word stallion. The connotations of what she meant slightly scared the shit out of me. "In Ponyville, or Equestria in general, the mare-to-stallion ratio is, well..." There was one thing I had yet to see in this world, and that was seeing Twilight Sparkle speak slowly and sounding somewhat dumb. She ditched intelligence and found comfort solely in the sensation of our coats brushing together. It was sweet, in a way, to feel only something that was pleasant, and for the moment, not have to think about something that was unpleasant. What the hell happens to stallions, then? I couldn't stop my mind from focusing on the unpleasant. If it didn't, then I may be forced to go through unpleasant things myself. This place doesn't have some breeding pit, does it? Of course not. Twilight gasped at the idea, then promptly giggled, snuggling into me as we hit the staircase. Step by step, our shaky hooves went down the stairs, my heart pounding from a myriad of reasons. But stallions are just so unlike you. So many wheeling mares around them. I gulped, wondering how this place sounded like heaven and hell simultaneously. We made it to the halfway platform. Don't know how we made it alive, but here we are, still very much drunk. Coming to the last set of steps, I gulped, leading the way downward. So when a stallion's ready to, it just happens? Pretty much, stallion. She said that word in a way I'd never heard her say before. Instead of sounding weak, the word became strong by her tongue, almost masculine. It's very rare that such a handsome stallion like yourself makes it to your age, she giggled, without giving it up. I gulped. Is that so, huh? Yep. Our hooves touched to the ground floor at the same time. We looked at each other, our bodies still pressed together. In a way, it almost makes you a legend. We walked silently to the bar. I was left to think that shit was over, and at every pass at the idea, I didn't like the sound of it. I mean, being able to lose your virginity at the nod of a head sounded kind of badass, but at the same time, something felt very wrong about it. Like, it was too easy. Like, rendering the experience cheap. Or maybe I was just thinking too much like a wimp. No matter the reason, the result of this would remain the same. All these mares, if they found out, would have similar reactions to Twilight. At least from what I saw of them, it felt that way. Looking over at Twilight, her eyes were nearly closed as we walked to the bar. I didn't trust her. I wanted to trust her, but something was just off about her. As was the rest of this world. Everything felt like it was against me. I felt like I had to face off against everything here. But that didn't stop me from leaning closer into Twilight Sparkle. Halt! I blinked. Oh, shit. The yell caught me and I spun around, catching sight of the bouncer. Same one from before the doors to the club. Tall as fuck, expression impassive, eyes fucking dim. But they were set on me, staring at me, so much that I had the pounding feeling of my heart again. Anon, is it? The mare stepped towards me, and even though I dipped my head, I stepped forward as well. She was glaring at Twilight when she was talking to me, and with a gulp I stepped between her and the princess. You have been instructed to come by with me. Then deconstruct that order, I replied. Because I'm not doing shit. I blinked. Besides getting drunk off my ass, of course. The bouncer blinked as I spoke. She took a step back when I finished. It was like she never had anyone, a stallion much less, talk back to her in all of her life. And for a second, I thought she was going to press a hoof against her chest, but instead she just shook her head. You are responsible for making most of the patrons leave the club. The bouncer continued to stare down at me, but I kept still standing tall. I was fueled by a little more than my pride, which was like a fickle flame now. My partner had been forced to give every stallion the delicate care they deserve after such a trauma. The janitor will not be pleased. Wait, being scared is cause for a blowjob? I glanced over my shoulder at Twilight, who looked scared for whatever reason. Stallions must never get scared thinking about their life at night. Not when you could just get your cock sucked. I looked forward again. I guess blowjobs do make life less scary, after all. Do you require one? What the fuck? What the fuck? What I said and what I thought tended to be the same things. The stallions have reported you as a virgin. Fuck me. Even here, where that word was prone to get me more laid, still stung like a bitch. This would imply proper care of you. Even the princess, for as long as she has had you, has yet to properly service you. She then glared over me and at Twilight. You should be ashamed of yourself, Princess Twilight Sparkle. But it's not what you think. Twilight tried firing back. She stepped forward, only to stumble back 2 steps. The alcohol had a delayed effect on her, but now it was fucking her shit up. It doesn't want it. Well, there went that for my physical support. That was so weird. I still ended up muttering to myself, princesses get in shit when they don't sleep around? I sighed heavily and let my head hang. This world is seriously gonna take some getting used to. Then I raised my head, holding up even in the bouncer's gaze. And you need to seriously fuck off. I'm afraid I cannot leave you in the like of her. Sorry, honey, but Twilight Sparkle is already my guide in this crazy world. I cracked my neck. Until I can figure out how to face all this shit on my own, I'm rather fond of keeping her at my side. I had no idea what the fuck I was saying, only that there were lines I'd heard from some action hero. Hopefully the bravado would save my ass. You don't have to act so tough, little stallion. The fuck did she say to me? This mare simply hasn't shown you the comfort all stallions deserve. You are not in the proper state of mind to take care of yourself in this scenario. It's the responsibility of the nearest to care for you. Alright, fuck the bravado. This anger was for real. And you're not taking me. I promise to be gentle and to take good care of you from behind closed doors. Fuck this shit. Like, fuck you're doing that. I struggled to raise up on my rear legs, but when I did, I held my forehooves up like they were fists. Of course, I had no clue what the fuck I was doing, but the bouncer and Twilight both gasped. I can take you in a fight. Come at it. A stallion trying to fight a mare? The bouncer cheered as she ran straight at me. That's adorable. I'm gonna eat you right up. Fuck, fuck, fuck. She charged at me and picked me up by my body, running us straight into the counter of the bar. Come here, lover boy. Ah! My back slammed into the counter, which luckily had its edge cushioned by something. It didn't help that cunt was constantly pushing my spine bend against it, though. Get the fuck off me! Twilight, a little help! I went to throw a punch, but as I stared up at the muzzle before me, I found that I couldn't. Mares were still girls, and I never punched a girl in my life. Fuck me, was I about to start now? What the fuck was I thinking? Those lips of yours are perfect, little stallion. The mare pinned me, lowering her muzzle to my own. Let this big mare make them feel better for you, okay? Fucking Twilight! Helping! Twilight stumbled in place, lit the tip of her horn, and then had a flash blind the room. A second later, the bottle we'd been drinking from, the one upstairs, appeared before us. I tried not to think too hard about seeing a new aspect of her magic, and instead, how she was gonna knock the chick out with a blow to the back of the head. That a girl, Twilight! The bottle fell straight into my face, causing my snout to flare upon in pain, and a second later, go numb. One of my hooves lowered to rub the end of my muzzle. What the fuck, Twilight? Whose fucking side are you on? I didn't mean to! Twilight tried walking towards us, and somehow started walking backward. She was fucked in beyond being able to help me. Don't swear at me, it's not nice. For fuck's sake. Move your hoof, little stallion. The bouncer giggled at my pain, bringing her chest closer against my crotch. I'll kiss your boo-boo all better. The fuck you will. The bouncer puckered her lips. Anon, don't let her kiss you. Why the fuck do you care? She ignored me. Punch her. You punch her, I replied. With my hoof, I did my best to push away the oncoming kiss. I can't punch a mare. It wouldn't be right. Things here are different, remember? Twilight screamed. The mares here are like the stallions where you're from. Punching one is totally okay. Twilight fell on her ass and threw her forelegs up in a cheer, shouting, You can do it, Anon! That was right. Chicks here were pretty much like guys. Beating the ever-living shit out of one would bring no shame whatsoever. I looked over to the bottle and quickly snatched it with the hoof that was on my snout. With my leg wrapped around the neck of the bottle, I brought it high before smacking the side of the bouncer's head. Her eyes rolled up, and with a smile, she fell back. I dropped to the ground, the bottle falling out of grip. It shattered to the side of me. It didn't matter anymore. I'd done some cool and fucked shit, and now it was the time to get out of here. Picking myself up quickly, I walked over to Twilight, who had the blush that stretched across her muzzle. I don't think I've seen a stallion do something so cool in my life. Yeah? Well, get fucking used to it. I put my head under her left foreleg, helping Twilight to her hooves. No way something like that shit's gonna ever happen again. Not when I can fight back and get away with it. I put my right foreleg over her neck, each of us using the other to walk straight to the door. Where are we going? Getting the fuck out of Dodge. Twilight's eyes closed and her horn glowed. In a flash, another bottle appeared in front of her, sinking and raising into the air, her magic failing. What the fuck is that for? I already knocked the mare out. For a challenge, of course. I shook my head. We made it to the door, and with a smack of my hips, I got it open. Together, we made it down the steps, and after that, we fled the fucking scene. Listen, you're gonna have to lead the way to wherever the fuck home is. I sighed. We may need to lay low for a few days. I'll lay low with you anytime, Anon. For fuck's sake. My snout came with a whiff of something. I blinked, and the scent was strong and sweet. Strong and overpowering. When I glanced over at Twilight, I smelled that musk that was coming from here. Twilight, what the fuck is that smell? Twilight dipped her muzzle, blushing madly.